Support comes from Mosby Building Arts, a design-build company committed to remodeling the right way. Visit callmosby.com to get project inspiration for any room of your house.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, March 7th. I'm Arla Kaziz. The supporters group for St. Louis's Major League Soccer team are not happy with the decision that keeps the team out of the U.S. Open Cup.
It's an affront to St. Louis soccer. It's an affront to the club. It's an affront to the fans. It's unacceptable.
St. Louis Public Radio's Jonathan All will have more on the group's plans to boycott some games this summer. That's coming up on The Gateway. Missourians say medical debt is affecting both their mental and physical health in a report from the nonprofit Missouri Foundation for Health. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton reports the organization convened dozens of people to ask them about how medical debt has affected their finances, families, and job prospects.
Missouri Foundation for Health studied how medical debt affects Spanish speakers, people with low incomes, rural residents, and those with disabilities. People across demographics said they delayed health care because it was so expensive. They also reported medical debt caused stress, shame, and family strain. Samantha Schrage-Bunk is a health policy strategist at the organization. She says confusing billing makes medical debt more burdensome.
You go to the hospital and you're expecting, one or two bills when you come out, but you might get a bill from 4 or 5 different places and are not sure, what was covered if you are insured or what wasn't covered if you're not insured.
Many interviewees said the debt affected their credit score, which kept them from getting a house or a vehicle to get to work. I'm Sarah Fenton, St. Louis Public Radio.
Teachers in the St. Louis Public School District will have more money in their pockets starting in July, thanks to a new collective bargaining agreement reached Tuesday by the city and the union representing district employees. Most teachers will receive a 17% raise over 3 years. Ray Cummings, president of the American Federation of Teachers Local 420, says 78% of union members voted to ratify the contract on Monday.
This agreement demonstrates a real good faith effort to recruit and retain our dedicated workforce. We are better together in an often challenging times, but rewarding work of putting children and families at the center of our endeavors.
Starting teacher salaries were also increased to just under $50,000, putting them well above the state average. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore is working to vacate the conviction of Christopher Dunn. Dunn spent 30 years in prison after he was convicted for a crime that hasn't been tied to physical evidence. A recent change in Missouri law allows Gore to conduct a renewed review of the case. Dunn is hopeful that evidence of false eyewitness testimonies will lead to his release.
Gabe Gore, he moved to vacate my conviction. And I was like, wow. It was hard for me to express myself because, to be honest with you, I've been down this road before.
Dunn is working with the Midwest Innocence Project to argue for his release. Dunn and his wife spoke alongside Rachel Weston, managing attorney at the Midwest Innocence Project, on Tuesday's St. Louis on the Air. Washington University has launched its Naming Review Board. Students, staff, and faculty can submit reports online of the names of buildings, scholarships, and professorships, amongst other things, that are tied to individuals with problematic legacies. This is the latest effort by the university to examine its own ties to the institution of slavery. In 2021, university students and faculty unveiled findings that one of its co-founders, William Greenleaf Eliot, was not an abolitionist and owned enslaved people. WashU history professor Peter Castor is the inaugural chair of the board. He says the new board creates a structure the university did not have in place.
If you want to raise a question, if you want to raise a concern, most specifically, if you want to make a submission to have the university reconsider what a feature is named for, you now have a way to do that.
Listen to Castor's interview on St. Louis on the Air today at noon and 7 p.m. Illinois legislators are introducing legislation to restore protections to the state's wetlands after the United States Supreme Court stripped some last year. Juan Pablo Ramirez Franco has more.
Illinois does not have a robust program for protecting its remaining wetlands from development. State Senator Laura Ellman says that it's time for Illinois to step up and fill the void left behind by the Supreme Court.
The stakes here in Illinois couldn't be higher. These state-level protections are absolutely necessary to safeguard our waterways and wetlands as they play a critical role in the health and well-being of Illinois communities.
Illinois is among 24 states that were left without extensive wetland protection after the Supreme Court ruled last year to limit the scope of the Clean Water Act.
I'm Juan Pablo Ramirez Franco.
St. Louis's Major League Soccer team has started its second season as the newest member of the league. But this summer, the team will not be playing in the U.S. Open Cup. St. Louis Public Radio's Jonathan All reports the decision by MLS has angered the supporters groups that have been called the backbone of the fan base.
The atmosphere before a St. Louis City SC home match is filled with singing, drums, horns, and a parade of the 7 supporters groups into the stadium. Once they arrive, they take their positions standing behind one of the goals, singing, chanting, and cheering non-stop for the entire match. But all this pageantry won't be present at some games this summer because supporters groups are planning a boycott in reaction to Major League Soccer's decision to limit participation in the U.S. Open Cup to just 8 of its 29 teams. City SC isn't one of them.
It's an affront to St. Louis soccer. It's an affront to the club. It's an affront to the fans. It's an affront to the entire soccer system. It's unacceptable.
That's Sarah Roberts, one of the leaders of the St. Louligans, one of the supporters groups. In addition to the regular season MLS games, teams participate in tournaments. The oldest of these is the U.S. Open Cup, founded in 1914. The format allows more than 100 soccer teams around the U.S. to participate, including some amateur and semi-pro teams in the early rounds. St. Louis-based teams won the Cup 10 times, all before the MLS was founded in 1996. Roberts says that history is important.
You had everything that made this possible today, but without all of those pieces, I don't necessarily know that we'd be where we're at right now.
MLS did not respond to requests for comment, but in a statement said reducing the number of teams was a compromise designed to reduce schedule congestion and improve player health and safety. City SC's president and general manager Diego Gigliani says he doesn't share the league's position.
And while we understand the decision taken and the need for making some improvements to the U.S. Open Cup, it's a competition that we value a lot, and we prefer to play in the U.S. Open Cup.
While the club is taking a diplomatic approach, the supporters clubs are more direct. Austin Adams is a founder of Fleur de Noise. He says MLS short shrifting the U.S. Open Cup is a result of a new tournament founded in 2019. The Leagues Cup is a joint venture between the MLS and Mexico's top soccer league. Adams calls that tournament a cash grab, and why the supporters unanimously voted to boycott those games, City SC will be playing at home.
We chose the Leagues Cup because that is a tournament, a new tournament set up by the league. It doesn't have any history behind it, so we rather support and celebrate a tournament with over 100 years of history than one that is there to just make a quick buck and doesn't have any history or kind of community around it.
The community around City SC includes STL Santos, the Spanish-speaking supporters group. Carlos Restrepo is its founder and president. He says last year they pulled out all the stops for St. Louis's Leagues Cup game.
That was a huge night for us as a Latino supporters group because we had people who had not heard of the team in the Hispanic community very excited to come and see play against one of the biggest teams in Mexico and the Americas. And we brought a party. We had a huge tifo. It was a great atmosphere.
Restrepo hopes their absence gets the attention of the league and can lead to a change in policy, if not this year, then next year.
I think that when they see that we're not doing that the stadium is going to be quiet or just filled with opposing fans, I think hopefully it makes the people who run the MLS to rethink their approach.
While the supporters are hoping their silence will be heard during Leagues Cup games in August, the party will continue during regular season games until then. I'm Jonathan All, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our David Cazares edited that report. You can see photos of the City SC supporters group on our website, stlpr.org. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Marla Kuziz, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.